Well, one of the decadal themes that are going to play out in markets over the next decade, of course, is green mobility. And within that space, already having a 20% market share, a name which traditionally was never attached to mobility is Olectra Greentech. Now, of course, it's listed. It's got a partnership with BYD, and it leverages on that to do well in the Indian marketplace. But execution is the one key piece which is a concern. Order book, of course, there is a large order book which is already outstanding that Olectra has. The opportunity size, I don't think too many people have a doubt on. The question, therefore, only is, can it execute and execute well and hold on to the kind of market share that it has? In terms of the first piece, of course, is order execution, both in terms of timeline as well as expectations. What should we see over the next 3 to 5 years? So that's the first piece. The second piece is that I want to know is capacity. What's the current capacity? What will it be at the expanded level? And the expectation is by end of FY26, capacity will stand at 5,000 buses, likely already happened. But beyond FY26, how quickly do they get to 10,000? And that's the guidance. So we'll try and get some insight around that. The third piece is CESL. They've already placed an order of 10,900 buses. There's a fresh new tender likely to come out this week with regard to another 6,000 buses, or rather over the next week. And how large and significant is Olectra Greentech's participation in some of these orders is what I'd want to know. The fourth piece is the Maharashtra order book. Just the execution guidance. What's the roadmap looking like and how confident are they with regard to execution glide path? The fifth piece is with regard to strategy beyond buses. Is there a game plan there? Is there a plan to enter trucks, other commercial vehicles? I'd want to know. And how do they plan to penetrate that space? The next point that I'd want to know is margin risks, both from raw material prices as well as supply chain constraints. Whether there's absolutely any concern with regard to that margin guidance of 10 to 14%. It's a wide guidance that they've given. But can they stick to the upper end of that guidance is what I'd want to know. The seventh point is with regard to CAPEX. What's the outlook like and how do they plan to fund that CAPEX? Some of that color will give us a perspective on how the next 5 years look and how they plan to capture the opportunity that's available to them. And the last piece is with regard to inventories and receivables build-up. Working capital has been a concern. How do they see or expect that to play out going forward? So we'll try and understand a lot of this with the management of Olectra Greentech. We'll have Mr. Mahesh Babu Subramanian who will come and speak with us. But before that, as we always do, let's try and understand about the company. Everything about it. First off, it's an Indian company focused on green mobility. Pretty much all the CV players now getting into green mobility, so the competition has started to inch upwards. But Olectra Greentech, to some extent, has or is one of the first movers and has some advantage with regard to that. So that's the first piece. The second one is it manufactures electric buses, therefore, for public transport predominantly, and it manufactures polymer insulators for power lines. The third piece is with regard to the market share that it has. It has around a 20 to 25% market share in the e-bus market in India, so it already has a large one. It partners with BYD for bus technology, and that partnership is likely to last till December of 2030. And operations rely on factories in Hyderabad and a new plant that they've set up in Telangana, due to which the stock is also up and buzzing. It relies heavily on government contracts, of course, as would be evident, especially in the public mobility and in the e-bus space. Currently, that's where the largest traction is really coming from. Let's talk about the operations itself. It makes electric buses for cities. It assembles anything between 9 to 12 meter variants of these buses. It maintains the buses post the sale as well. It exports insulators globally. They are looking to localize parts to cut costs as well going forward. They use the BYD batteries for the buses that they make, and they obviously build charging infrastructure as well along with the buses. And some of that also hampers execution. If the charging infrastructure is not in place, delivery of buses really makes absolutely no sense. Now let's talk about the products predominantly. First is the 7-meter e-bus. It has a 150-kilometer range, as you can see on your screen. Then there's a 9-meter with a 300-kilometer, and that's intra-city. And then there's a 12-meter with a 350-kilometer range, again, which is intra-city. Those are just some of the names of the buses as well. Then there's a coach e-bus as well, which is also an intercity, and there's an e-tipper as well, which they have introduced, which is heavy-duty trucks. We'll try and get a sense as to how much traction are they getting out of some of the heavy-duty trucks, and whether they are really seeing the kind of traction that they're seeing in buses in the trucking space as well. Let's talk about the revenue. 90% comes from e-buses currently, 10% from insulators. So predominantly it's going to be e-bus heavy. Even our discussion will be that, because that's where a chunk of the revenue is coming from essentially. The tech partnership with BYD, it's up to December of 2030. It's for battery cells and battery packs. In terms of geography, it's entirely domestic, or rather 95% plus domestic, except the insulators piece. And it has a distribution across 11 states, at least at this point, Olectra. In terms of the order book, it's well ahead of 10,000 buses. But currently, at least that's where the order book currently stands at. The capacity as of a few days ago was 2,500 buses. Now with the new facility in Sitharampur coming through, Sitharampur, I beg your pardon, coming through, you have another 2,500 buses, which Olectra has the ability to manufacture. So three facilities that they manufacture their buses in. And currently, the latest one, of course, is the Greenfield facility at Sitharampur, which is what has come through. Let's talk now about the financials and how that has evolved over the last 3 years at least. In terms of the 3-year CAGR on the top line, it's been very strong. From 500 crore, the top line has gone to 1,800 crore. So there's been a 3-year CAGR of 45% on the top line. Let's talk about EBITDA as well. Largely in line, 46% EBITDA compounding that they've done. And profits have grown at a solid 60% over the last 3 years. So it's been very, very strong, the kind of growth that you've seen. A clear thumbs up, no concerns there. But H1 FY26, revenue growth was 20%, EBITDA growth was 9% odd, and profit growth was 4%. So slightly tough in terms of the EBITDA margins, but they've remained in that band. And in fact, EBITDA in H1 of FY25 was slightly above that band, and therefore, you're not seeing the growth on EBITDA and profit. So just to kind of contextualize that. Let's talk about the margins, therefore, how it's shaped up over the last 4 to 5 years. There you go. You can see that a bit of a dip, but thereafter they've been able to sustain and maintain margins in that 12.5% to 15% kind of band. So they've done decently well. There's some steadiness with regard to the margins, and therefore the thumbs up. Let's talk about the balance sheet now. In terms of the book value, it's at around 1,120 crore odd. Currently, as of today, which is H1 FY26, we're sitting at around 1,120 crore in terms of book value. It's a 10,000 crore market cap company, so it trades expensive in terms of price to book. But let's talk about the borrowing as well. Around 0.3 to 0.4 times in terms of debt to equity, and therefore you're starting to see that borrowing number creep up. I'd want to know as to whether the capex that they're doing are going to be through internal accruals or through borrowings. Therefore, funding of capex will be important to look out for where the balance sheet is concerned. But for the moment, we've given it a thumbs up because 10,000 crore in terms of market cap, 400 crore in terms of the loans that they've taken doesn't look all that bad. Plus, they have cash sitting on the balance sheet as well of around 130 odd crores. So that's something you want to factor in as well. Let's talk about the cash flow now. In terms of the cash flow, you look at the cash conversion being very, very choppy. And that's a possible concern. The cash flow from operations not coming through, and that's because a lot of the money is sitting either in receivables or either sitting in inventory. And that means that your cash flow from operations doesn't come through. So we try to understand whether there is an expectation or anticipation going forward. And mind you, in B2B and generally in government, business to government contracts, this is typically the problem where money will sit in inventory, money will sit in receivables. So that concern clearly visible here on the cash flow statement. Again, we'll try to see whether that cash conversion can change or improve in any fashion. But let's talk about return ratios. And this is where it starts to get a little bit better. Look at the way in which the return ratios have gone up. Sustainability of this is obviously the big question, whether they can actually sustain this number. But it's gone up in a very strong fashion, as you can see. And 15% plus for the last 2 years, and therefore we've given this a thumbs up. Sustainability is the question, of course. We've given it a thumbs up, but sustainability is the question. Let's talk about management commentary and what they've already said before that. Let's talk about shareholding. there you go, 50% promoter ownership, fairly steady over the last 3 to 4 years. In fact, FIs have participated, DI is very low to no participation. The balance is held by the public in terms of the shareholding. So that's the way Olectra Greentech's shareholding has shaped up. Let's talk about the management guidance now. FY26, they've guided for 2,000 buses to be delivered, EV buses, which will contribute to the top line. FY26 EBITDA margins in 10 to 14% range. They've done that fairly well. Capex of around 450 to 500 crores is what's expected. The post-capex capacity is likely to go to 5,000 buses, which is already likely been clocked. But the question, therefore, is that the 2,000 buses of execution, the first point there, can they do that? Because in Olectra Greentech, the problem has been execution. We have to see and test whether that execution actually plays out. The opportunity is available. That there is no doubt on. It's the execution which is a possible concern, if at all any. And therefore, that will be the key question. And here, the management has a couple of times fallen short in the past, over the last 2 to 3 years. But now we have new management coming in. We have a new managing director at Olectra Greentech who we will speak with. But that will be the focus area. Can they execute? So let me bring on board Mr. Mahesh Babu Subramanian to talk to us about exactly this. That's a sum up of everything we've spoken about. No thumbs down. But mind you, management commentary and the way forward with regard to execution holds the key here. Also, a couple of parameters you need to look out for as to how they're shaping up, because it's a high capex intensity kind of business where we need to understand whether the capex has been put up and execution is following through post the capex. So you need to keep those things in mind when you're contextualizing this particular slide of the presentation. Let's quickly now go across. We have Mr. Mahesh Babu Subramanian, Managing Director at Olectra Greentech, joining us. Mr. Subramanian, great speaking with you. Let me first start off by understanding this new, this new greenfield factory that you started at Sitharampur. Talk to us about it adding 2,500 buses right off the bat, or will it take a month or two to ramp up in terms of production?
Firstly, wish you a happy new year for you and your viewers. We are very happy to announce that our new factory has started production, and we have declared a capacity of 2,500 per shift, and we can do 2 shifts and achieve about 5,000. So we are consolidating all production into Sitharampur facility for electric buses, and in future even electric trucks and other models what we are planning. This has really brought the capex into action. So basically, whatever we have invested in the past years have really turned out into productivity. So I'm looking at numbers to increase in the coming quarter, and basically we are preparing ourselves for FY25 to deliver a very consolidated numbers, which have good growth in terms of number as well as utilization of the capex what we have done so far. So the preparation has done well. The ramp up has already started. I expect the full ramp up to achieve the numbers in the Q4 because we have to stabilize the supply chain. We have to stabilize the other areas, but manufacturing wise, we are completely ready to produce about 2,500 per shift. And we can always go to second shift and achieve about 5,000 vehicles anytime.
Right. Are you therefore suggesting that 5,000, which is your current capacity, can you operate at full capacity FY27? Is that the right way to think of this?
Yeah, as you rightly said in your preview, I think the manufacturing capacity is one part of the puzzle of e-bus adoption. The most important one is the depot readiness, power availability there, infrastructure availability there, and hence we have to balance the working capital very, very prudently to make sure that we are able to deliver to the need what it is. So if you look at, let's say, e-bus deliveries in India till now, including Vahan and Telangana, we are number one in terms of e-bus registration this financial year as of now. And we continue to deliver more buses than anybody else in the country. So we are working out a possibility of delivering 3,000 plus buses next year, but it all depends on how the depot infrastructure and other systems are developing over a period of time. And that will define what we need to do in the manufacturing. But as far as capacity is concerned, we are fully now behind us. So we'll be able to produce ramp up, ramp down, depending upon the market needs quickly. And hence, we are looking at our readiness in terms of backend. I think front end needs to be looked at in terms of readiness, which is improving day by day. You are seeing EV adoption and numbers are going up quarter on quarter. And we are expecting a very considerable number to be delivered in next calendar and financial year.
So therefore, your aspiration to get to 10,000 buses, is it something which needs to be done quickly or not really required? Because what you seem to be suggesting to me, Mr. Babu, is that there are plenty of bottlenecks in the system which need to first get ironed out for you to reach 5,000. And you're very happy doing 3,000 itself for FY27 also. So how quickly do you get to 10,000 therefore? When does that confidence come to you to ramp up from 5 to 10? Because you've guided for that.
We have to look at what's the EV adoption in the market and how the absorption in the market as well. So let's look at our aim is to make about 10,000 buses. We are expecting this to happen between FY28 and FY30. If it happens in FY28, we'll be very happy. If it happens in FY30, I think we are fine with it. We are looking at some other numbers. So if we are around 25% market share, 10,000 buses in FY30, if we make, but that means the market size is going to be about 30,000. So today we are about 6,000 in the market size. So we are definitely want to be number one in e-bus, and then we look at our capacity should not be the constraint, because anytime in India, suddenly you will see adoption going very fast, because most of the teething issues in the last few years have already been bottleneck, and the market has very stabilized now. The recent tender from CESL of 11,000 buses is clearly a vision that in next 2 years of delivery, these buses will be there. And hence, I'm looking at a market size of between 6,000 this year to about raising up to 10,000 plus in next year. So if that happens, I think we are fully ready with the market, and we will be able to deliver as the market adapts.
Okay. And if I were to just ask you whether for FY26 you can meet that guidance of 2,000 buses, which you had given earlier, or does that at all change?
See, I think we have done about 3 quarters already, and the last quarter deliveries have started. So we have improved in the last quarter as well substantially. I'm looking at the current scenario of depot readiness and adoption. I'm looking at now something between 1,500 to 2,000 buses to happen this financial year.
So you'll fall short a bit. It seems to be that's what you're indicating towards, and maybe it's not the issue of production or execution. It's more an issue of depot readiness.
Yes. So see, the issue is what is the market size? When we started the year, the market was looking at around 8,000 buses this financial year. But it looks like, looking at what has happened, we will end up around 6,000. So there is a short of about 2,000 in the market. But we are going to be much better than anybody else in terms of delivery. As I said, our deliveries are the highest till now, and we want to maintain it to make sure that the next quarter as well. Hence, we will reach around 1,500 to 2,000. Our team is fully working with all the STUs and other stakeholders. I wish this happens between 1,500 to 2,000. So we'll have to be practical as well.
Okay. Point taken. CESL, that's the big order, right? 10,900 was the size in December. Now there's a fresh news of another 6,000 orders, or rather 6,000 e-bus orders getting placed. How much of this are you bidding for, and how large is the opportunity for you realistically?
See, if you look at the CESL tender of 10,500 order, we are likely to get an order of about 1,785. Our target was to get about 2,000 of it, because we want to grow profitably. If you look at our numbers, as you rightly said before, we have to grow profitably, and it has to win-win stakeholders for sustainability over a long period of time. So we are very clear where we want to participate, how we want to win the tender, and how we want to increase the market share. And we are very happy that we have won in the recent tender. And the new tender also we will participate, definitely, because these vehicles are to be delivered in a 2-year time period as per the schedule, and hence we'll be ready by the time the existing orders are delivered. These orders will come in so that we have a clear pipeline for next 2 to 3 years in terms of order book.
And what's the strategy beyond e-buses? Is there a venture of getting into trucks in a big fashion, and how large is that foray going to be? Say 3 years down the line, how large do you see it to be?
See, the electric bus adoption has come to a very reasonable kickoff stage, I would say, and hence we are ready with our capacity to deliver it in the next 5 to 10 years. We are very well prepared in terms of product as well as manufacturing capacity. The e-truck segment is picking up well. The PM E-Drive has allotted about 500 crore for e-truck this year. So it is just picking up. We have already delivered about 100 plus vehicles in the market as pilot, and we are learning a lot in it. Our big expectation is the e-truck segment will kick off in a very reasonable way in FY27, and we expect that market to grow at a CAGR of 60% plus. By FY30, we will have multiple products. We are looking at 5 to 6 products in e-truck segment by FY30, and where the market is picking up, and we are timing it in such a way that the specific markets which need e-truck are being addressed from next year onwards.
Okay, and therefore, give us some color on how competition is evolving in that space.
See, the e-bus segment is now with almost 5 to 6 players, very reasonably, I think, and it has matured now. We'll have to look at scaling up and going, and we have a competitive product, and we also have a technologically advanced positioning in terms of product in e-bus segment. In the e-truck segment, there are big players, there are startup enters, and we are also part of it. And we see that there will be a kind of requirement very specifically coming on e-truck application, because it has to be a hub and spoke model. We are seeing a lot in terms of logistics, in terms of 55-ton truck. We are seeing a potential in terms of, let's say, mining and other areas, construction for tippers. We are also evaluating in the construction segment a concrete mixer. We have displayed it in the last expo in Bangalore. So we are evaluating multiple options. The advantage we will have is we are starting new, and hence our team is very open to customers, and hence the product needs to be developed. So we are more focusing on pilot evaluation and creating a product which will last for years.
And what's the kind of capex that will be required for this, and how do you plan to fund it? Give us a sense of that.
See, the manufacturing capacity capex investment is high, and that has already been spent, and we are ready for ramping up the production. The strategy for truck is a very minimal investment, and we will leverage partners to come and supply us aggregates and parts. And we will use our IPR in terms of application, in terms of overall product integration, and so on. And hence, I don't see a big capex requirement. And we can, with our profitability, we can do internal accruals. We will find a strategy. Even if needed, the group is happy to support us if it makes sense.
So, as part of your balance sheet, it's around a 2,500 crore balance sheet. I noticed that 1,000 crore is locked in receivables and inventory. Is that a concern? And when do you see an unwind on both of these metrics? And why inventory? There's such a large amount of demand, so I'm trying to get a sense.
I think in the past, I think there was a gap between the depot readiness as well as the manufacturing readiness. So, and hence, large number of materials have come in. But if you look at the quarter on quarter, sorry, our results are yet to be announced. We are working on reducing inventory in a drastic way. That is already showing results. You will see that in the coming quarter. It's not easy to balance between the depot readiness and the stock availability. So it's going to be a small, short ramp up which has happened in terms of production. And we are continuously working on reducing inventory to make sure the supply chain is not choked. At the same time, we are not able to wait for the vehicles to be delivered when the depots are ready. So you will continuously see optimization of inventory as well as receivable going forward.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Babu, for coming in and speaking with us. This has been very, very engaging, both from an industry standpoint as well as from an Olectra Greentech standpoint. So thanks so much for coming in and speaking with us. Viewers, that's all the time we have on All About Your Company for today. I hope you enjoyed this edition. Stay with us here on ET Now. More on the other side.